Yeah, this is Jim Lin. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce next speaker, Professor Charles CHOU. Professor CHOU is currently the leader for the Air Quality Research Center at the RCEC Research Center of Environmental Changes, Academia Sinica. And he is also a scientific steering member of the ICAC-GP. ICAC-GP stands for the International Commission on Atmospheric Chemistry and Global Pollutions. And his team is actually spent a lot of effort on investigating the urban air pollutants, urban air pollution, mainly in central west Taiwan. We know that the air pollution problem in the central west and or central the southwest region of Taiwan is actually very severe. So we are very curious to know what's the reason and the solution to those problems. So today he's going to talk about the transport and the transformation of urban air pollutants. So let's welcome Professor CHOU.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to first take this opportunity to thank to the host of this AAC conference that is actually a very big effort to coordinate such a big event, in particular during this very difficult time. And also, I would like to, in particular, send my thanks to Dr. Hiroshi Tanimoto, because at last minute he agreed to take the role of chair of this special symposium and allow me to shift my role from a chair to the speaker. Okay, so yeah, and I'm very happy today to share some experiences about our research about the transport and the transformation of air pollutants, in particular in urban area, with implication for the air quality issues in Taiwan. Before we start to the story of our local event, I would like to say that actually there's a very famous word. We are the world, okay, and we. Yeah, we thank NASA very generous to share this nice movie, and with this movie we are able to see how the aerosol actually transported from specific region and get impacts to our daily life in the world. Okay, in particular, if you look into some details, actually with the white color showing the surface and the green showing the impact of biomass burning, that's organic carbon and the black carbon, we are able to see very strong impact of the continental outflow from mainland China. So that's where we are sitting in. So if we look into a regional model, we are able to see how the air pollutants actually transported from the mega cities in mainland China and get impact to Korea, Japan, and also Taiwan. So that's on the actually the winter monsoon in East Asia, and also on the wind with very local circulations. We are able to see how the air pollutants in Taiwan can be transported back and forth in the western coastal area, in between the coastal line and the mountain area. So actually, the air pollutant actually transported on various scales from the hemispheric to regional and to local. And all these dynamics could interact with each other and result in strong impact to our local air quality. So it's very important to study the transport and transformation of atmospheric species, not only from anthropogenic pollution source, but also something of nature, just like in previous talk, Professor Tao mentioned about the role of diesel particles. And even earlier, we're talking about the methane by Hugo. Actually, you know that in addition to anthropogenic emission, methane is actually also mostly emitted by natural sources. Okay? So not only the air pollutant, but also the natural species, all that participate in atmospheric reaction and resulted in impact of our daily life. In the study of atmospheric transport and contamination, fortunately or unfortunately, Taiwan is located in the downwind area of a number of regional sources, the mega city in mainland China, the desert, Gobi, and also the biomass burning emission from Indochina, for example. And we sit in this area. So actually we have even a very strong winter monsoon in East Asia. Actually, we also receive a huge amount of diesel particles during the winter time. Okay? So not all the pollutant coming from outside area, from our neighbors, but actually we know that in Taiwan with a very limited land area, just as shown in this nighttime satellite map. Actually, actually Taiwan is not a big island, but actually only about 1/3 of the area is available to urban and industrial development. So with a very limited land area for development, so we have large cities, we have large industrial facilities, and including the huge power plants. And we know that we have 23 million people living in this small area, and we have almost 700 billion GDP produced in this very small area. So that's very reasonable that our environment is actually overloaded by all these pollution from our local source. So all these local source superpose on the regional background that contribute and result in the air quality issue in Taiwan. So with this general information, we want to study how this transport and how these chemical reactions responsible for the phenomenon we observe in this island. So in today's talk, I will use data from two recent studies. One is named Emerge Asia. Emerge Asia is actually an international collaboration project that's led by University Bremen in Germany. And in year 2018, a group of European scientists and also with the research aircraft of DLR, that's German Aerospace Center, coming Taiwan to investigate the atmospheric composition and the characteristics of urban and the industrial pollutants in Taiwan, and also the continental outflow from mainland China. So another major project provide our data is the named Taiwan Mega City Study. That's the phase 3 study of this project conducted in from 2016 to 2020. And this local project sponsored by the Ministry of Science and Technology. With this stating, we assume that the air mass transported from the coastal pollution sources will go through the urban area and with upstream wind into the mountain area and get interacting with the water vapor over there. Then that can get a return flow into our urban area. So the transport and transformation of urban pollutant in Taiwan was deeply investigated in this project. So I also would like to take this opportunity to thank to all my collaborators in this important project. So the first part of my talk will be on the transport issues. This slide showing you the zoom in the location of central western Taiwan. Here, the ocean part is actually the Taiwan Strait, and the urban area is the Taichung City. That is actually an urban basin in the western part of Taiwan, and that corner will be represent the mountainous area of Taiwan. Okay, the peak of this mountain can up to around 4 kilometers, so that's very high. With this very limited land area from the coastal line to the foothill of the mountains, actually from no more than 100 kilometers. So that's a very, very narrow land area with this case. But given the natural setting, we have very strong winter monsoons during the cold seasons, and we have sea level breezes in this coastal area that mentioned a little bit by Professor Hao Wang. And in addition, given the very high mountain area here, we have significant mountain very breezes occur every day. And superposed on that, we also know that in a highly developed urban area, we have strong surface heat sources that provide the energy for dynamics of urban heat island effect. So all these speculations from sea breeze, from mountain valley breeze, and from the urban heat island effect, that the three dynamics interact actually very actively in this small area and resulted in a very complicated system for the transport of air pollutant in our local situation. So in the study, we actually conduct a lot of investigation on the composition of aerosols in this area. And this map showing you the result. During the investigation, we set up 4 sampling stations from the Staru station, which located at the coastal line, and CSMU station sitting in the town area of the Taichung City, and at the foothills of the mountain, we have the Busan station, and into the mountain, we have the Xitou station that's located at an elevation of around 1.2 kilometer height. There are 3 major features shown in this map. The first one is that we observe the increase of PM 2.5 concentration from the coastal line to the downtown area, and then to the foothills at Busan. And the air pollutant get accumulated at the foothills of the mountain, and to a certain degree that get intrusion into the mountain areas. This can be shown by the pie chart or the composition of PM 2.5. Okay, and another important feature here is the predominance of secondary aerosols. From the pie chart, we found that most of the mass of PM2.5 actually contributed by ammonium nitrate, sulfate, and organic carbon. The organic from the flag indicates the elemental carbon. So of course, a fraction of the organic group comes from so-called primary source, but given the ratio of organic group to elemental carbon, we know that a significant fraction, actually mostly of the organic aerosol here from secondary source, and we will get back to this issue later on. Of course, I know that from the perspective of air quality, people are more interested to so-called PM2.5, but from the perspective of atmospheric transport, usually I would like to say that PM10 will be more informative because the PM10 includes not only the air pollutant, but also a very important component that's diesel particle. So diesel is actually one of the focus of our symposium today. Okay, so here we see the blue color indicate the share of diesel particle in our aerosols, that's PM10. That's composite of our experimental data for the 3 years winter campaigns. A significant share of diesel particle observed in our coastal area and also in the downtown of Taichung City and even into the mountainous area. In addition to the chemistry suggested by Professor Paul Wang earlier, here I would like to show you that diesel particle actually a very nice indicator of the path of sea breeze. We analyze the correlation of sodium in PM10 from station to next station. So you see that from the coastal station to the downtown station, they correlate with each other very well. And even from the downtown to the foothill station, if the correlation was still there. And interestingly, if you look into the mountainous area, we still found significant correlation between the sodium, between the foothill station and the mountain station, but only limited to mostly the summer case. So the correlation of sodium in aerosols from coastal line to the foothill station, that provide a very strong evidence showing you how the aerosol transported on the sea breeze that can go from coastal into deep into the foothill area. But theoretically, we are not expect that the sea breeze can develop deep into the mountainous area. So there must be some other dynamics responsible for the transport. Given the height of the mountainous area, we are trying to identify that obviously the very breeze that contributed to the transport of particles from foothills into the mountainous area with elevation of 1.2 kilometers. And both sea breeze and the valley breeze actually driven by solar radiations because the heating up of air mass over the land resulted in the development of sea breeze and also the development of the upstream wind from foothills to the mountainous area. So the two dynamics actually work together to get the particles transported from the coastal area into the mountainous area. The evidence of the transport of sea particles not only by the sodium but also by the mean sodium, so-called the seawater composition, we know that the magnesium and also the sodium ratio in seawater about 0.1 to 0.12. So obviously we saw this evidence in the composition of PM10 in all the particles collected from the fourth station. So that's very strong evidence showing you how the particles transported on the sea breeze and then the various circulation into the mountain area. Not only the seed of particle, but so, of course, very important thing is that the transport is not only the seed of particle, but also the air pollutant. This slide showing you a correlation between sulfate and the sodium particles in the aerosol collected at the fourth station. All the common feature here is that with something like a baseline indicates the correlation between the sulfate particle and the seasol particle. Above this baseline, we saw significant increase of the sulfate particle that would relevant to the secondary formation of sulfate. But as with the baseline, obviously, usually during something like cloudy days, we have less photochemical reaction. We have that kind of background test. So that gives us a strong indication for the transport of coastal air pollutant into downtown and the mountain area. The transport of air pollution on sea breeze showing not only by the ground-based measurement, but also by the image Asia airborne measurements. During that field study, we have conducted measurement of air mass using the Germany research aircraft, the HALO, named HALO, this aircraft. And we have 12 flights offshore and the 19 flights over the ground of over the ground within the boundary layer of Western Taiwan, showing by this map. And in addition to that, we also conducted a very unique tracer experiment. We released a fluorocarbon tracer from the high chimney of the hydrogen power plant, and we have measurements on not only the HALO research aircraft, but also using an array of drones to collect air sample from ground base to about 500 meter height to see the profile of the fluorocarbon tracers. Here showing you the result that the fluorocarbon, that PMCH C7F14, that's very unique tracer and rarely used or emitted from pollution source. We released that tracer from the chimney and collect sample as the sampling network. The interesting finding is that the first test with high tracer concentration observed at the downwind side that named Dawson area, that actually only 80 kilometers, I think, from the stop point source to the sampling site. And in addition, we will also get a high peak later on at the Zhanghua site that's shown here. So the dual hotspots suggested that the plume actually gets splitted in the air. So then we need to driving force to get the two streams. The main stream obviously related to the northeasterly monsoon, and the minor flow going to the going to the east or going to the inland area, actually relevant to the sea breeze. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, that using the drone, we are able to see the profile relevant to the transport of the two streams. the first from the throats to the downwind area, so along the coastal line indicates the transport along the mainstream. At the beginning, the plume elevated into the air. Remember that the chimney is around 250 meters high, but that tracer can be pumping up into 400, even 500 meters high with the momentum of the plume and also the heat capacity of the plume. And then that gets mixed down into the boundary layer and collected by our sampling kits. The second flow going from the point 3 to actually, from showing by this segment from the coastal line to the southeast part of this study area. And it's obviously relevant to the path I showed you earlier by the sea breeze. And even more complicated is the case across the mountainous area that's relevant to the orographic effect. So the elements indicated by the tracers obviously transported from here into mountainous area and get lifted and finally get sampled in a small base mountainous basin. So the transport of the air pollutants in this area obviously figured out by result of this study. But the tracer can not be only limited to this area. With the aircraft measurements, actually we go further south of Taiwan and collect the air sample. In the morning, the tracer released, and in the afternoon, actually, we found that along the western coast of Taiwan, we are still able to collect sample with significant tracer amount. So here are the two sampling location, and we would like to highlight this case with higher concentration. So you are able to see that at a 600 meter height above ground level, of CO2 and CO and also nitrogen oxide showing consistent trend with the tracer. So that provides direct evidence showing you now within this transport pattern, the air pollutant emitted at a point source sitting at a coastal location that can be transported to the south, but due to the decline in the dynamics that get accumulated over there, till the afternoon, we are still able to sample the air pollutant that emitted earlier in the morning. So that's very important message, and to the policymakers to consider the transport and the accumulation of air pollutant in the airspace. In addition to the transport, that's actually a very interesting thing showing by this observation is that here again showing you the data in the north part of our study area, we are subject to the strong northerly winds, and later in the southern part of the study area, that's characterized by the weaker but the east westerly winds. So that's the sea breeze. So the air pollutant actually transported firstly by the monsoon and later on by the sea breeze, and finally get into the inland area or mountainous area of Taiwan. And with this transit of the air mass and our brackets showing you by the yellow segment here, we had a very interesting measurement and found that along the close point of the transport, the plume and also the bracket, we observe a significant depletion zone of ozone. With this observation data, we would like to say there will be around 50 ppb decrease in ozone mixture ratio. And also we observe the increase in the level of nitrogen oxide. So that usually we explain the ozone depletion due to the titration effect between ozone and the nitrous oxide. But maybe to a certain degree, that could also relevant to the chlorine molecule, suggested by Professor Cowan earlier. But unfortunately, we don't have data to show that at the moment. But the very interesting part we will ask is what happened in the ozone depletion zone. So we look into the data of nitrate and also the peroxide rate measurement. We found that the ozone, I usually call it another kind of ozone hole. The ozone, they're around here. So after this period, we saw significant increase or the formation of nitrate particles, along with decline in the abundance of peroxide radical. So obviously, the radical consumed by nitrogen oxide and resulted in the formation of nitrate particle. And go further to the downstream of this plume, we observe the increase of nitrate level compared to the upstream test. So this result provides a very strong evidence showing you how the nitrogen oxide emitted from high chimney can result in strong impact of the nitrate level in the downwind area. Although not perfect, with all those observation data, we set up models to describe the transportation of the plume. Firstly, with the monsoon to the south, and later with the sea breeze to the east, and finally get into the mountainous area and result in interaction with the species emitted over there, kind of natural sources. The last slide relevant to the transport issue I would like to highlight today will be the mountain interaction between the sea breeze and the mountain valley breeze. Just very recently, we analyzed the data of wind profile, and we found that in the downtown of Taichung, that kind of summer camps, during the daytime we have significant sea breeze, and in the nighttime we observe the wind coming from the southeast. That will be the wind, the mountain wind. So obviously during the nighttime, the wind direction gets reversed from the daytime and resulted in the air pollution. If any air pollution transported into the mountainous area, they will get back into our downtown area. And so far, we don't know how much the impact of this kind of reverse flow, because it will depend on if the air mass can be transported further into the coastal area or just accumulated in the downtown area. So here is a summary of the first part of my talk. So I would like to say the air quality impact of the interaction among the atmospheric dynamics will play a very important role in our air quality issue. And the second part of the talk will be on transformation of atmospheric constituents. Or in the words of air quality, we would like to say the formation of secondary air pollutant, in particular the ozone and the PM2.5. One of the topics, the practical issue of atmospheric transformation of will be the formation of the ozone. Because people here are all rather familiar with the formation of ozone, so I would like to skip the detail. The very important thing here is that this kind of reaction not only for the production of ozone, but also for the production of nitrate particles. This is not a new Science et al. Actually in the mid of last century, California is one of the places with a very bad air quality test. And in the last 50 years, actually, according to a report from Dr. David Parrish, a reduction in ozone actually during the last 50 years that's reduced by around 80%. To achieve this, they reduce the nitrogen oxide also by around 80% and reduce volatile organic compounds by almost 98%. So that's a huge reduction in the emission of primary air pollutants. That contributes not only to the formation of ozone, but also the formation of organic aerosol, I just mentioned earlier, and also for the formation of sulfate aerosol. Traditionally, we think that the photochemical production of sulfate could be very limited, but actually, in case of clear sky, that could be even more important than thought. Again, with the information of aerosol composition, actually we have compared the chemical feature of PM2.5 for earlier of 2003-2009 data compared to a recent data set for 2007 to 2021, for the last 5 years. The interesting result is that in terms of mass concentration, compared with the north, central, south, and eastern parts of Taiwan, actually very uniformly, the mass concentration decreased by around 50%. But interestingly, the chemical composition almost remained the same. It's still rather puzzling to me, and obviously some scientific questions behind that. Why the aerosol composition changed so actually insignificantly along with the reduction of the precursor. The geographic location of the urban tracers, that element of carbon and also CO and the nitrogen dioxide will correlate with it. They suggested that the pollution event we observed in Taiwan is actually very much on urban scale. So that allows us to do some analysis further into the urban air quality, and we found that the secondary air pollutant, the organic carbon and also nitrate, that correlated well with the ozone layer. So let's suggest that we do sitting in an area of photochemical smog as the major driving force for the formation of PM2.5 in Taiwan. So the question here is why we have such a high level of organic carbon, and also asked by many other speakers in the last couple of days. One of the key process would be the formation of secondary organic aerosol. In one of our earlier study, we observed the photo-oxidation of sulfur dioxide, shown here, compared with the nuclear mole particle with diameter less than 30 nanometers. We observed significant correlation actually that follows almost perfectly between the number of nuclear mole particles and the fatalities of sulfur dioxide. That provides evidence showing you that the formation of ion cluster of sulfuric acid actually play a very important role in the production of new particle formation in the atmosphere. And the growth rate that's defined by the growth of particle after the new particle burst. The growth rate correlates with the fatality of ozone, which one of the indicators for the photochemical intensity. So this, but at that time we still didn't know what's the major species contributes to the growth of the particles. And later on in Taipei, we conduct another study and we conduct measurement of chemical composition of ultrafine particles as defined by particle less than 100 nanometer. We found that this pie chart showing you the composition of ultrafine particles, the organic carbon contributes 30%. We know that in this setting, organic aerosol usually associated with maybe even more weighted by the oxygen in the organic molecule. So the other here showing you actually was very large fraction to be contributed by the oxygen associated with organic carbon. So in short, organic contributes mostly of the mass to the ultrafine particles that extend this kind of organic matter gas condensation on the ion cluster of sulfuric acid. A parallel study we used in the thermal desorption of PGMs to study the composition of the aerosol. And because of the time, I will skip the details, but the conclusion is that we found an array of low molecular weight carboxylic acid. So obviously, the formation of this kind of acid, you need the OH attraction to the double bond of alkene or the ring open process for the aromatic compound. So all this relevant to the photochemical reaction dominated by OH radical chemistry. We also get some measurements into the mountainous area, and we also observe significant correlation between the organic nitrate and the number concentration of nanoparticles, that particles smaller than 100 nanometer. And the conclusion, we also study the chemical composition of the micro-organic aerosol, and the result indicate a significant contribution from the formation of organic nitrate. And the key message showing here is that all the organic nitrate observed in the forested area are characterized by molecular backbone of either isoprene or monomer. That indicates the contribution of the precursors that coming from biogenic sources, but that all these isoprene or monomer actually a part of our natural atmosphere. So what makes this natural state converted from the gas phase to the aerosol phase that's based on the nitrate radical reaction. So it's very important to say that the transport of air pollutants actually from our urban area into the mountainous area and get interacting with the biogenic volatile species and resulted in the formation of not only PM2.5 but also ozone, because all these VOC are very reactive, and that's also one of the major precursors for ozone production. Okay. So in Taiwan, I would like to say that organic aerosol and also nitrate aerosol, that are major issues that also are great challenges in the improvement of our air quality. But looking into the future, today I would like to highlight two issues relevant to climate change, along with the theme of our symposium mentioned by two earlier speakers. The first one is the air quality impact due to the change in the atmospheric circulation on various scales as a response to climate change. We know that along with the climate change, the intensity of the monsoon activity actually are changing. And also, along with the climate change, we know that the temperature contrast between ocean and the land and even between the urban area and the mountainous area are changing. So the local circulation actually are changing along the climate change. So what's the impact? So far, we have no idea. And the second issue I want to highlight will be the impact of the changes in atmospheric composition and also the absorption capacity on various scales. As an example, not only to climate change, but also to our action to minimize climate change. For example, the energy transition, as I like discussing with Hugo earlier, we are moving from coal to natural gas. That's high methane. So what's the consequence? And also in the last couple of days, people talking about reduction in air pollutant, in particular sulfate, would resulted in a reverse in the cooling effect of aerosols, and we get the warming get even worse in short time frame. So what's the impact? So all these kinds of impacts are what we are worried about in the near future, and more scientific research are needed to help us to improve not only climate change but also air quality together in the future. So I just stop here. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah. I think we still can have a few minutes for the question, or should we take all the questions together to enter the discussion? Yeah. Maybe we take all the questions together for all the speakers. So any question appear online? You have a question, or yeah? Okay, please. Thank you for your presentation. I noticed that the chemical composition in maybe 10 years ago and the recent year, you said there's not have a major changes, but I find that the nitrate still have a slightly increase. Yeah. So especially for the episode case, right?
Not really. Very deep. She'll provide a very detailed observation. Yes, you're right. If you look into details, that you found a little bit increase in nitrate. Actually, I would like to say to a large degree the difference due to the technical issue. Because 10 years ago, we collect all the aerosol on single Teflon filter. We used none to get some loads of nitrate because of the separate process. So in the current system, we're using Teflon and the nylon filter pack, so that we are able to reduce the nitrate loads. So that kind of technical impact. A very nice indicator showing you this is to compare with ammonia, because we know that in the atmosphere, most of the nitrate are associated with ammonia, with ammonium nitrate, and actually no significant change in ammonia. So let's provide you evidence for that.
So, I have another question, which actually related to the oxidation capacity, which mentioned by Professor Lam. Because I saw light increased. Do we have the data in Taiwan showing the correlation between the oxidation capacity and light concentration time for a long time?
I think the best indication for the observation capacity will be the level of ozone. I don't have the figure today, but as the discussion with the speakers earlier, we checked back to the last 20 years, actually 25 years, with the Taiwan EPA data sets. Actually, we did not see a significant change in the ozone level. Okay, and this not only in Taiwan but also in many urban areas in the world. Where I also checked into the ozone level in along the coastal area of mainland China. So we have a small island as the Kinmen, Maju, and that will be along the southeastern coastal area of mainland China. That also didn't change, even with the substantial reduction in air pollution emissions in China.
Yeah, definitely.
Professor Joe, thanks for your nice talk. And in one of your slides, you show the interaction between isoprene and monoterpene in reaction with nitrates. And as we know that isoprene and monoterpene also can react with ozone. So I'm just curious if you have some idea about like the ratio or the comparison between those isoprene or the biogenic monoterpene with nitrates or ozone or other atmospheric oxidants. And my second question is, from our laboratory experiments, we observed some interesting effect of water on the formation of secondary organic aerosols. And from the observation data, we know that there is we also observe isoprene. So I was just wondering if you observed any effect in locations with high relative humidity and low relative humidity. Yeah, that's my two questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. For the first question, unfortunately, no. In our data set, we put our focus into the organonitrates. But yes, you are right. There could also be a lot of products produced from the ozone chemistry and also OH chemistry and so on. But that's not included in our analysis list. Actually, I want to do something more, but at that time we are not able to do that anyway. So we are trying to do that now. And to the second question will be the effect of humidity. That's indeed one of our major questions at that time. But during our study in the Seattle forest, unfortunately, the humidity was always high. So we are not able to get a period of low humidity. So we don't have that kind of context. But at the moment, we are conduct a study of that kind of chemistry in urban area in Taiwan City. I think that will be able to provide some indication for that, because one of the major issues that we found the reverse wind from mountain to urban area. We are now assuming that to a certain degree the biogenic VOC will get transported from mountain to urban area. Gas reaction with natural radical, that kind of nitrogen chemistry. So that's a very important issue, and we can work together on this.
Thank you.
Okay, that's other question. To other speaker, maybe.
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me? I have a question.
Yeah,
Yes, Tao Wang from Hong Kong. Yeah. My question is that looking at the composition, of PM 2.5 over the 20 years, that I noticed that nitrate, the proportion of nitrate, actually has increased almost in all stations. Is that due to because of NOx reduction was smaller than SO2, or due to some chemical sort of like increasing oxidation for nitrate? Yeah, that's my my first question. Yes.
Oh, sorry, we have an internet connection problem just a moment ago. So now we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So I repeat the question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I noticed that in one slide showing the 20 years of PM 2.5 composition data, that nitrate, the proportion has actually increased in all stations. Is that due to the smaller reduction of NOx emission compared to SO2, or due to some increasing oxidation of NOx, producing relatively more nitrate?
Yeah. How can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, the changes in the nitrate fraction, I think most of the changes could be relevant to measurement techniques, because in the early data phase, we are using single Teflon filter to collect particles that are known to subject to the nitrate loss. In the second phase, in the last 5 years, we are using Teflon nylon filter tag to minimize the nitrate loss during sampling. So that will a little bit increase the nitrate concentration in our data set. To check this, we compare the ammonium fraction in the mass share, and we found relatively consistent in the ammonium, and we know that most of the nitrate relevant are associated to ammonium in PM 2.5. So I think that most of the nitrate increase in the two data sets because of the technical issue. And we also checked into the emissions and also the ambient concentration of sulfur dioxide and the nitrogen oxides in Taiwan during the last 20 years. And both the precursors decreased by around 50 to 60% in the last 25 years. So we are not able to distinguish the formation mechanism and for nitrate and sulfate formation in that period. Yeah.
Okay.
Do I answer your question?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But I wonder whether or not if from the filters that you can separate the two. I mean so you said in the later study that you actually measured more complete nitrate, right? So, but if you separate the two filters, can you, in other words, you can still compare using the second filter or the first filter, the particular phase.
Yeah, you are right. So yeah, we did that. Yes, we did that, and that's why I guess the conclusion that a large part of the increase are actually technical issues.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is other question online, or is a question online or a question on site? We are also welcome question to other speakers. The question for you. Because as I am local Taiwan scientist, you mentioned that the change of energy source in hydrogen power plant, from the coal fields to the natural gas in later future. So what do you expect the change of the impact on the air quality because of the change of it?
That's a very sensitive question. there's no doubt that more air pollutants emitted from coal-fired process. So phase out of coal is certainly a good action to improve our air quality. So as I mentioned also in the emerging issue is that the emission relevant to the energy transition. We use natural gas to replace coal for electricity production. The only issue relevant to air quality will be the emission of nitrogen oxides. So that depends on how you control the emissions. The state-of-art emission control technology actually can minimize the emission of NOx to a very nice degree. But if you just want to meet in our national emission standard, you can emit a lot more. Even so it depends on how you make your design to achieve the best of air quality in our local environment.
All right. That's more question to other speaker maybe. So we are okay. That's Professor Wang. Yeah, please come here. 小心那条线。
Yeah, so hi again. So I have a question for Professor Go Kanaya. Yeah, so there was a question asked by Professor Jin Lin about the methane emission. And I just have a question that as we know that agriculture methane emission, especially from the livestock, is a major contribution for the methane, accounting for about 1/3. And so some people suggest that by eating less meat or becoming a vegetarian could help to reduce the emission. So what do you think about this suggestion, or what's your suggestion? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's not really my research field, but yes, many Europeans particularly shift from their dietary habit from meat to something else. And there are several studies from the food production sector, and that the carbon footprint, and the agriculture, of course, the carbon footprint, particularly including both the CO2 and the methane emission in the process of the food production, is totally different from the food product like beef production. Emit a lot of the correspond to the higher amount of the carbon footprint rather than the fish, for example. And the several other options would be to eat insects as a protein sources or something like that. And we might need to think about this in the latter half of this century. In the worst case, I would say. But of course, the food is a quite sensitive issue, and people have their own cultures, and we need to think more carefully about this. But that would be one way, to move forward, I would say. Thanks. Interesting point.
Okay, thank you. And I still have one more question for Professor Charles CHOU. So from your flyby observation, so I think for the data in Kaohsiung should be quite different from what you observed in Taichung area. So can you give us some of the ideas?
Yeah, that would be interesting, but unfortunately, we are using Hainan Airport. So we have only very, very limited data around Kaohsiung, and usually the air flight is getting, the turn of the air pass, so the angle is not good for measurements. But there are still some remote sensing products that are very useful without significant conclusion at the moment. One is that we observe a very high level of methane around the coastal area of Kaohsiung in the southwestern Taiwan. And another thing is there are indeed some signal of bromine. Maybe CHOU will be interested to that. But anyway, the data is still not yet open to public for analysis. Yeah, but the could be relevant to the soap production in the Western Taiwan. We are now a little bit interested to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to attracting you to come to measure those Kaohsiung.
Yeah. Maybe hopefully we can have that kinds of measurements in another one in the future. And I answered your question. And Hugo, I have a question to you.
Yes, please.
May I have your screen? Yeah, nice to see you. And actually, my question is that in your talk, you mentioned that during your review process of IPCC report, only very, very limited comments provided from Asian scientists. Do you know any problem or any issue to limit the response from Asian scientists?
It's a interesting point. And simply the scientists in the atmospheric chemistry research field do not know the processes. We recommend push the people to register as a review expert. And then they are almost 100% accepted. And people may hesitate as if we might be rejected as a reviewer or something like that. And we should say that people, the experts, having the PhD are almost totally accepted. So then, we should know that at the beginning, and we should have told this much more clearly to the community as well. And I remember that IGAC has also announced that more comments are recommended on this research field, not only from the Asian or African researchers, but also for all the scientists from the world. So then, but still, it seems to me that there is still some gap between the general atmospheric chemists to the climate scientists. So then, maybe that would be a challenge of the IGAC or even the ICSCCP, to tackle, to remove or to reduce this gap between the two communities. And we should learn how we can help the other communities from the atmospheric chemistry experts.
Thank you. Thank you. And one of my observations is that actually in either the North America or in the Europe, even in the Oceania, there are kinds of regional observation or regional atmospheric chemistry activity relevant to IGAC. I'm not sure if Yoshi is still online, but in Asia or in East Asia and the South Asia, seems to me that we are not that active in regional affairs. Maybe to specific individual country level in Taiwan, Japan, and China, we have been very busy and active in this kind of study, but we don't have regional collaboration work. So that will, to a certain degree, reduce the international response and also reduce our response for IPCC, I think. So maybe in SACGP or IGF level, we should try to push some activity for Asia kind of regional.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, we might need some intermediate layer where the Asian voices are all together collected. And yeah, with our one voice, we should be able to input our data set and the information to the international communities. That would be another great strategy we should need. Yeah, particularly in this Asian ELSO community can be one of them, I think. Hiroshi may.
Hiroshi, welcome to join.
Yes. Well, thanks, Charles. Thanks, Diego. I think that's a great point. Great discussion point we should make, we could make in this discussion time. Well, I personally enjoyed 3 cutting-edge science talk today, but on the other hand, while listening to 3 talks, I was kind of thinking, well, like Hugo said, Asia is really big emission source regions affecting global environment, global climate. And what's the role and what's the responsibility for Asian scientists? I was kind of thinking. So, well, of course, it's a bit challenging for us to, to speak up in an international community. But like you guys said, some community efforts in Asia is kind of a good approach to make. For example, SLCF issues or whatever issues related to atmospheric chemistry, and maybe Charles and Hugo in an international committee, myself too. Some of us are on a committee, so maybe that's our role, our responsibility to advocate for this issue, for Asian scientists' role in the international committees, and also get back to the regional or domestic or national communities of air source and atmospheric chemistry. Particular observations, also like Tao's talk and Charles' talk highlighted, we have a lot of interesting science here in this region, not only environmental issues, but also very interesting science is here. So how we could advance observations or modeling or integration of observation and modeling is something we could tackle together as a Asian community. So Hugo and I are just starting a new project focusing on SLCF emissions inventory, and we are kind of aiming to make a little bit of report, not as big as IPCC, but a little bit of some summary report on that. So maybe we could invite you to have input or feedback and get together as a community efforts. So that's my some thoughts.
Yeah, I believe that not only myself, but only a number of Taiwan scientists will be very interested to join this kind of effort. Thank you.
Yeah, on behalf of one of the chair, I'd like to thank all the participants. We have a quite wonderful discussion, and we are already late for lunch, and probably even later for Japan time zone. So let's conclude the session, and people can have lunch. And welcome back to other session later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. That was a great session.
Thank you.
And I already